Jake here for American Trucks, and today I'm taking a look at the PowerStop Z36 Extreme Truck and Tow front and rear rotor, pad, and caliper kit fitting 2009 to 2018 Ram 1500s. If you're looking for the ultimate upgrade to your brakes, then you can stop right here because the Z36 kit from PowerStop is going to tick every single box for you. This is perfect for the Ram owner who's going to be using their truck to its fullest extent. Whether that be hauling, towing, or hitting the trails, this kit is going to give you everything you need to absolutely stop on a dime. Now, going fast is fun, but stopping is even more important. And PowerStop is a company that's founded on exactly what their name implies, and that is braking and brake components. That is all they do, and it shows in the quality of their products. And this Z36 Extreme kit that I have here today is no exception. This is a super high quality, heavy duty kit. It's gonna give you everything you need to upgrade your Ram's brakes. Now, there's a lot to talk about here, obviously, but we'll start with these rotors. Now, these are obviously of the drilled and slotted variety. Now, most trucks come from the factory with solid discs, and while those work fine in most applications, if you're doing a lot of heavy duty stuff, the extra heat dissipation that these are going to provide will not go unnoticed. Heat is the enemy of braking performance, and it's going to be a theme that you see repeated throughout this video. Having the slots and the drilled holes here gives that heat plenty of places from which to escape. It's going to channel it off the face of the rotors, away from the pads, and out through these central channels as well. Now, if you've ever had brakes get hot on you, you know that is not a fun experience. So doing everything you can to dissipate that heat is really going to be important, especially if you're pulling a heavy load either in the bed or behind your truck. But rotors can only do so much on their own without having good pads to back them up. And the brake pads in this kit are sort of the heroes here too. Now, the Z36 pads are made with PowerStop's own proprietary carbon fiber ceramic compound. Now, these are designed for heavy duty, such as hauling or towing, and they're going to be really good at dissipating that heat while maintaining everyday drivability. Now, lots of upgraded brake pads lead to a compromise when it comes to regular use, like driving around town with your family in the truck. However, that is not the case here. There is virtually no compromise in braking performance or feel. In fact, PowerStop claims that these pads are nearly dust-free. Now, no brake pad is entirely dust-free just due to the nature of how they work, but these are a super low dust formula that's gonna keep your wheels a lot cleaner, and that's especially great if you've got some nice aftermarket wheels on your truck. Now, I can actually speak from experience with this setup because I have this setup on my own truck, and those pads do stop you on a dime. The rotors dissipate heat very well, even when towing something behind you, and those pads are super low dust too. So they keep my wheels looking really nice, and they're gonna do the same for you. So take it from now I can't speak to my experience with every single product that we sell, obviously, but this is one that I definitely have and I definitely recommend for you. But enough about me, we also need to talk about these calipers because you get a brand new set of front and rear calipers in this kit too. And they've got this beautiful red powder coat finish, gives you a nice little pop of color from the wheel well. And this is also gonna give you the peace of mind that you've got all new braking hardware. So before you hit the road, you know that you're gonna be able to stop quickly and safely. Everything here is included, and they come pretty much pre-assembled. You just gotta bolt these on and get the pads in. So again, these are all new. You've got brand new 2 pistons in the front, 1 single pistons in the rear. You've got new bleeders, the slide pins, and the bushings in here as well. So everything comes refreshed. You just gotta bolt it on. The rotors here are made using G3000 metallurgy, so that's gonna have a higher percentage of carbon in the metal itself. And like those veins and holes in the faces, this composition is extremely helpful in dissipating that heat. As you can see, the rotors also have this really nice silver zinc plating, both front and rear, and that's gonna help prevent rust and corrosion, so these are gonna look good and also perform well for a long time. Those pads that we were talking about, both front and rear, again, use PowerStop's proprietary ceramic compound. Again, designed for excellent heat dissipation, consistent performance, and super low dust. The pads are also thermal scorched to make for a quicker and easier break-in too. And PowerStop, of course, includes their requisite premium stainless steel shims for better heat dissipation and noise-free operation too. You get all new stainless steel hardware with everything for the rotors and the kits. In fact, you're gonna have a few extra things if you buy this as opposed to just the rotor and pad kit, because you're gonna get all these included with the calipers as well. And again, those come pre-assembled. Also get high temp lubricant included in the kit too, so you should have plenty to get you through and make sure everything moves and slides and works as it should. Coming in around $1,025, this kit does not come cheap. However, good brakes rarely do, and this is not a place you want to skimp if your truck is going to see a lot of usage. Again, it's worth reiterating here that there's a lot of good science and technology baked into the rotors, the pads, and even into the calipers too. And again, it comes with absolutely everything you need to get this job done and vastly improve the braking performance on your truck. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there are a few places on my own vehicles on which I believe it's worth spending the big bucks. And again, I'm running this kit on my own truck. Tell you from firsthand experience, I've towed with it, I've driven it daily, and it's definitely worth it if you've got the room in your budget. These things stop on a dime. It's a world of difference compared to the brakes that were on my truck when I got it. So again, if you want to spend the money, if you can work it into your budget and find a way to do it, I highly recommend this. Definitely worth every penny. Installation is going to come in at a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and installing this kit is definitely something you can accomplish at home. It's probably going to take you about 3 hours to complete, maybe a little bit more. Now, while this is a totally bolt-on system, doesn't require you to do any modifications to your truck, it is worth noting that you're going to have to do a full bleed of the brake system, since you've got to open the brake lines to get these new calipers fitted. Now, that might sound intimidating, but trust me, it's not a difficult job, it's just one that's a bit time consuming. And it is gonna require either a brake bleeder tool or another set of hands to help you out with that. But fret not, we're gonna show you how to get this whole thing done right now. So with that, let's head over to the install bay.
The tools you'll need for this project are a 1/2 inch breaker bar, a 1/2 inch and 3/8 inch ratchet, a 13, a 15, and a 21 millimeter socket, a brake hose clamping tool, a 10 millimeter, possibly a 17 millimeter wrench, a pair of pliers, and a vacuum pump / brake bleeder system. Hi everyone, today we're installing a set of brakes on our Ram, so let's get started with the uninstall of the stock system first. First thing we're going to do to uninstall the front is we're going to clamp off this brake hose here, and that's to keep all of the brake fluid from draining out of the master cylinder. Now you can rent or buy a hose clamp at your local parts store. I'm going to be using a pair of needle nose vice grips with some rubber hose on the ends. That'll work just as well. And we're just going to clamp this off right here, and then we can disconnect our brake hose from the caliper itself, and then we'll remove our caliper. Clamp off our brake hose there. Then we'll use our 15 millimeter socket and remove the banjo bolt off of the hose. Now it's also a good idea at this point to make sure that you've got either a drain pan or some sort of absorbent material underneath this to help collect all of the brake fluid that will drip out. All right, that's out of the way now. And one of the things I also like to do, just to keep from making more of a mess, is use this plastic plug that comes with the new caliper and insert that where the banjo bolt was at. That'll help prevent any brake fluid from leaking from the caliper when we take this out. Now we're going to remove the 2 bolts here and here on the mounting bracket to the spindle. Once we get those out, we can go ahead and just lift our caliper off of the rotor. So we'll be using our 21 millimeter socket and a 1/2 inch breaker bar to break this loose. Do the same thing for the top one. And once you've got them broken loose, you can switch to your 1/2 inch ratchet to go ahead and finish taking those out. Once you've got your bolts out, you can just lift up on the rotor, on the caliper, and pull that out. Now we can go ahead and grab our rotor and pull it straight out. Being careful, of course, because there is a little bit of weight to it. and be done. And because these are slotted and drilled rotors, they are side specific, so you want to make sure that you've got the correct rotor for the correct side of the vehicle. And since we're working on the driver's side, you need to make sure this one actually has a sticker on it that says front driver's side, so you know it's the right one. But if that sticker is not there, you can always look at the slots and the drilled holes and make sure that they're starting from the inside and it goes to the outside here. And the outside port you want to have facing the rear of the vehicle. So we know this is going in the right direction for this side, so that's good. Another way that you can tell is along the outer edge here, they've got the part number stamped in as well as some specs as far as minimum thickness goes. And on the part number here, the very last digit, it'll be either an L or an R. L is for the driver's side, R is for the passenger side. So all of these things match up for ours, so we know we're on the right one. And then before we install this, it's always a good idea to use some brake cleaner to clean off the contact surface of the rotor on the front and the back side. Make sure that there's no manufacturing residue or nothing got on it during shipping. So let's go ahead and clean that off. And using a clean cloth, we'll go ahead and wipe it down and then flip it over and make sure that we do the back side as well. All right, now we can go ahead and get this installed on the truck. So now we just line up our holes on the wheel studs and slide it on. Now let's go ahead and get our pads installed in the new calipers and get that installed as well. As you can see, our caliper and our mounting bracket come partially assembled. There's no pads inside, so we are going to have to take this apart to install our pads. To do that, we're going to use our 13mm socket and remove these two bolts here from the outside. Now, you may come across a situation like what we have now, where this backing bolt here wants to spin when you try and take out that bolt. So you can either use a very thin 17mm wrench to hold that nut still, or in our case, we're just going to use a pair of pliers to hold it while we loosen that bolt. Do the same thing on the other side. And then we can just lift our caliper up and get it out of the way for the moment. Now we can go ahead and install our pads and our retaining clips. And when you install these retaining clips, you want to make sure that this large loop here on the end is towards the back or the outside edge of the pad. So there's one. We'll get the other one. Like so. Now, before you actually install these onto the mounting bracket, it's a good idea to put a little bit of lube that is supplied in the kit on the ends here and on the back side, making sure not to get it on the front side. Now, because we're not making this a permanent addition to our truck, we're not going to put the lube on. But we'll show you how to install it just the same. So now you just slip the pad with the retaining clips into the edge of the mounting bracket, like so. And now we can go ahead and reinstall our caliper. Reinstall the bolts that we just took out. and tighten them down with our 13mm socket. Now again, you may need to use your wrench or a pair of pliers to hold that still. And now we can go ahead and get this installed on our truck. Now to install the rotor, you want to make sure that your pads are spread as far apart as they can be. And then we'll go ahead and slip this over the rotor. Get it into position. And we'll be reusing the original hardware to secure it to the spindle. All right, once you've got the bolt started, go ahead and use your 21mm socket and tighten them up. Now that we've got our caliper mounted back up, we can go ahead and replace our banjo connector onto the back of the caliper. Now the kit does come with new washers for the banjo bolt. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that you remove the original washers, one on each side of the banjo fitting. Now once you've got the washers removed, it's always a good idea to just kind of clean up the surface a little bit. Make sure that there's no contaminants in there so we get a good seal. And then do the same thing on the banjo fitting. Get it pretty well cleaned off. And then what we'll do is we'll install one of the washers on the bolt itself. Insert it into the banjo fitting. And then put the other washer on the other side. And once you've got that done, go ahead and reinstall it onto the vehicle. And then tighten it down with your 15mm socket. Now once you've got it tightened down, go ahead and remove your clamp. And then you can do the same process for the other side. Now since we're replacing the calipers and the pads and rotors on this kit here, we're going to need to clamp off our brake hose here to keep all of the brake fluid from draining out of it. I'm going to use here is a pair of needle nose vice grips with some rubber hose on the ends of it just to keep from damaging the hose, and we'll be able to go ahead and clamp that off so that it doesn't leak all over the place. Now you will have some leakage just because you can't prevent all of it from coming out. So we're going to go ahead and clamp this off, and then we'll remove our ABS sensor wire here, and then we'll disconnect the hose from the caliper itself. So we'll go ahead and clamp this down pretty close to the end of the hose, and then we're just going to pull this sensor wire out of the clamp, and now we'll use a 15mm socket right here on this banjo bolt to go ahead and disconnect our brake hose from the caliper. Now you might want to consider either putting some sort of absorbent material or a drain pan underneath it just to catch any of the fluid that does come out. So we're using our 15mm socket on the banjo bolt. We'll go ahead and take that out. And then I like to use the cap that comes with the new caliper that goes into the banjo bolt hole on the new caliper. I'll just stick that inside the hole here, and that'll help stop the leakage as well. Now we're going to use our 18mm socket on a 1/2-inch breaker bar to break loose these upper and lower caliper mounting bracket bolts. Now once you've got them broke loose, you can go ahead and switch out to your 1/2-inch ratchet to finish taking them out. Now once you've got both of the bolts out, you can just go ahead and slide your caliper straight off of your rotor. Now depending on where you live in the country and what kind of condition your brake system is in, you may need to use a hammer to tap this loose. Now, be careful not to damage the threads on the studs. And if it's not too bad, you should just be able to pull your rotor straight out. Now before we put our new rotor on, we want to make sure that we've got the correct one for the side of the vehicle that we're working on. Now since we're on the driver's side here, we want to make sure that we have the driver's side rotor. And one way you can tell, obviously, is it's got a sticker on here that says rear driver's side. But if that sticker is missing, another way that you could tell, because these are slotted and drilled, is looking at the angle of the slots and the holes that are drilled. If they start from the inside and they go towards the back of the vehicle as you're looking at it from the side, then you know you're on the right, you've got the correct rotor. Now another way that you can tell is along the edge here, it's got the part number and some specs stamped into the edge of the rim. And the very first thing here is the part number, and then the very last digit on the part number is either an L or an R. L is for driver's side, R is for passenger. So we do have the L on ours, so now we know we've got the correct one for this side of the vehicle. Now before we actually put it on the vehicle, it's highly recommended that you go ahead and clean this using some brake cleaner and a clean cloth, just to make sure that there's no manufacturing residue or if there's anything that got on it during shipping or handling, that it's clean and it's not going to cause any problems with the new pads. So we'll go ahead and spray this down and then wipe it with a clean cloth to make sure that we've got everything off of there, and then we can go ahead and put it on the vehicle. And you want to make sure that you get both sides as well as the inner hub here where the parking brake goes as well. So we want to make sure we get all that clean. All right, now that we've got it cleaned off, we can go ahead and put it on the truck. So we're just going to reverse our process of removing the old one. Just line it up over the studs and slide it on. Now let's take care of our new caliper. Now, as you can see, our calipers and our mounting bracket come partially assembled. There's no pads in there, but we can fix that real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the caliper off of the mounting bracket, and to do that we're going to be using our 13mm socket. So let's go ahead and get that off. Now with the bolts out, we can go ahead and just lift our caliper up and set it off to the side. Now we can go ahead and install our retaining clips and our pads into the mounting bracket. So we're going to go ahead and just press these on the ends of the mounting bracket here, making sure that this long tab is facing up. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just press it into place. And now we can go ahead and install our pads. Now the kit comes with this silicone lubricant that is highly recommended that you use this when you're putting in the pads. So you want to put a little bit on the ends of each pad here where it makes contact with the retaining clip, and also a little bit on the back. Now you don't need a whole lot. Just put a little bit on there, spread it out. It'll help things move a little smoother and stay a little quieter. But since we're not doing this as a permanent addition to our truck, we're not going to put the lubricant on these pads. So now that we've got our retaining clips in, we can go ahead and insert our pads. Do the same thing for the other side. Now, once you've got the pads installed, you kind of want to have them out towards the edge a little bit. That way, when you put them on the rotor, it just slides right over the top. Now we'll go ahead and reassemble, put our caliper back on. And we'll go ahead and tighten those back up again with our 13mm socket. Now we can go ahead and get this installed on our truck. Now we'll go ahead and slide our caliper over our rotor and secure the caliper mounting bracket using the original hardware. And now we'll tighten it down using our 21mm socket. Now the kit does come with some new washers that goes on either side of the banjo fitting. And you'll want to, it's highly recommended that you use those and not reuse the ones that are on there. Now if the washers are stuck on there, you can use like a small flathead screwdriver to just pop them off. And you want to make sure that you get both of them on either side of the fitting. Once you've got those off, go ahead and clean the fitting just to make sure that there's no debris in there to cause any leaks. And then we'll go ahead and put one of the washers on the bolt here, slide the bolt through, put the other washer on the other side, and now we can go ahead and reattach this to our caliper. And then we'll tighten that down with our 15mm socket. Now once you've got everything tightened down on this side, go ahead and remove your clamp. And repeat that whole process for the other side. Now that we've got our brakes completely installed, now's the time to actually bleed the brake system of any air that may be trapped inside. So let's watch a short video on the process of bleeding the brakes. And remember, when you bleed the brakes, you always want to start from the caliper that is the farthest from the master cylinder, which in this case is going to be your passenger rear caliper. Once you get that one done, then we'll move on to the driver's side rear, and then to the passenger side front, and finally the driver's side front.
All right, now that our calipers are installed on the truck, we can begin the process of bleeding the brakes. The first thing we're going to do is pump the brake pedal up a little bit to fill the calipers with brake fluid, and then we're going to top off the reservoir. Top off your reservoir. And now we can begin to bleed the brakes. All right, so you're gonna want someone up in the driver's seat pumping the brakes and holding them while you do this. First, remove this rubber cap off your bleeder. Next up, using a 10mm wrench, get it in place, and you can also use a line if you'd like, just to help make the brake fluid go into the pan and not everywhere. And one more thing, we always want to start at the farthest point away from the master cylinder, so for us it's going to be the passenger side rear. All right, so have your buddy pump up the brakes. And then hold them. Crack it open. Let some fluid out. Close it, and then repeat that process until the fluid comes out clear with no bubbles and the brake pedal is nice and stiff. Repeat that process on the rest of your calipers and make sure you keep an eye on the reservoir to make sure your fluid is full. Replace the cap over top of your bleeder and replace the ABS line as well if you haven't already.
That's going to wrap it up here for our review and install the PowerStop Z36 Extreme Truck and Tow front and rear rotor, pad, and caliper kit fitting 2009 to 2018 Ram 1500s. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, for all things Ram, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.